This is episode 204 of the GSP. I am your host Dion Morales, and today I am joined by Marcel. Let's talk about hair ruling. Manzano. Will, 23 stress and still flying. Haywood. And I get my superpower Thursday. Stanishevsky. You might be wondering why my voice is like this. I'm still recovering from a throat infection. Thank you to all those that have been helping out. Our podcast episode is brought to you by the GSP patrons. Our upcoming Alphabet Squadron set has been finalized. Garvin Dries, Sabine Wren, Dutch Vander, Ten Num, Maviru.
Alright, we can start now.
I think that was Magba Yarrow. Dion's got some voice actuator problems. We gotta deal with. Isn't that right, Shevsky?
Yeah, the reading to the actual pronunciation could use a little bit of tweaking here and there. Might want to get our mechanic on that, right?
Exactly.
Also, for those unaware, Stanishevsky is actually the Polish correct way to say my last name. So it's technically right.
And for anybody who didn't catch it, we're just being silly, but I'm still recovering from a throat infection. It hurts to talk. I can talk like I could get myself to talk normal, but already today with teaching, I had meetings before this. Like my throat is done, so I'll be more on showing the pictures and giving little insights here or there. But yeah, these guys are gonna drive the bus today. I'm going back into the cargo hold.
What? I couldn't hear a word you said. Can you say it again?
He's going back in the cargo hold.
That just like.
This is myself spent the entire time wanting to make Dion talk louder. Why are you trying to hurt your friend?
Because he rubs me the wrong way. Don't you, boy?
Well, today we're talking about the Scum extended meta. We're first going to talk about the what from the new packs, the fugitives and collaborators are hyperspace legal, which is just 3 things, and then we're just going to kind of revisit the ships that we haven't seen in a long time since we've been in hyperspace.
All right, so we got a couple named Y-Wings here that were not in hyperspace. They're new. Lima Kai, who, let me bring it up real quick, y'all. The I-5 Y-Wing added before you engage. If you are not in any enemy ship's front arc, you may acquire lock on an enemy ship in your front half. I know a couple people were pretty interested in trying Lima out. That free acquire lock it's good, right? But you're telling an opponent to not point at a Y-Wing, which it's not the best flanker if you're in that situation. But if they turn their entire list on a single Y-Wing and other of your ships are in better position, you can make them make that choice. I don't know, Will, I think you were kind of high on Lima Kite. Have you spent any time on it, using it?
I flew it once. I got the freed lock, first engagement, and then it K-turned and died. I do think as far as now hyperspace combinations, there is the combination of putting like targeting synchronizer on Lima Kai. High initiative, could just pick up the lock, but if bumps or something, I don't know, I guess you could bump but not be in anybody's arc. But I think that's really her role, is like out there trying to target synchronize. I just don't think it's an archetype you can build, but I don't think it's an archetype that we'll see. I don't know what else to do with Lima Kai. I mean, she is I5. Or they're I5. I don't know genders, but they're I5. But it doesn't have I mean, Cavil's 3 more points. 3 more points.
I think I don't know if it's all of them, but just these Y-wings just seem a little too expensive for me. Like when you compare it with other Y-wings, like yeah, this lemon is just. I mean, this is a lemon, is what it is.
Lemon guy.
Yeah, we need to take it back to the shop, get a refund. I mean, the initiative 5 is fine, but 40 points for an I-5 carrier that you're probably gonna have to put at the very least 6 points with that would be just like a dorsal turret and an ion torpedo. At the very least, 46 points. I don't know. Not good. Not happy. Not liking it.
Do you see anything with the I4? Arils? How do you say that? Wait.
Arliss.
Arliss. Hadrazian. I got the second one. I don't know why I couldn't, like, my brain couldn't handle the first name.
Arliss hairdresser. So he's what is that?
So that's the I4 has while you perform front arc attack, if you're damaged, you change your eyeball result to a crit result, and has some other ability that means nothing apparently.
While you defend if you are damaged. Oh yeah, that's the blank.
Yeah, you must change one of your eyeball results to a blank result, which was speaking of rulings, which was ruled as is essentially blank because you could just spend your focus before you must turn an eyeball result.
Yeah.
So if you already converted it to evade, it doesn't do anything.
So how does this interact with the timing window to make Hera work?
Well, this is during modify the dice, so it's very legal.
But can you use it towards with ordnance? No,
you can use it with ordnance. It's true.
So the thing is, it's actually, while you perform an attack, if you're damaged, you may change focus to a critical. It's a soft token, but it's like I mean, you have to have no shields already to begin with.
I mean, you're a Y-wing. You're going to take damage eventually.
Yeah, but I mean, this only really comes in handy if you're moving, target locking, then you get the soft focus, so you can have like a double modded shot. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. Like I'm trying to think. Like, does it make sense to throw? Can you even do that? Are you allowed to? Oh, she or he? Arliss sounds like a he. They.
Let's just go.
Meaning we don't know.
Yeah, the it doesn't even have a mod slot because I was gonna say you can reinforce, put that reinforcing thing, give up a shield to reinforce, but you can't even do that because it has no mod slot.
No, the new Y-wings lost their mod slot and illicit for the tech upgrade.
Yeah, I was gonna say throw some what is it? Angle.
That would have been angle deflectors. So
yeah, that way you can
use for them.
Yeah, you can reinforce and always have a soft token. So every turn you're reinforced and then a soft focus on top of it. But I guess not. So they really, the developers really wanted it not to play. So they went ahead and took the mod out.
I mean, just take a lock and get a soft focus to crit all the time, I guess.
No, but you have to have no shields to begin with.
Keep taking locks.
Yeah. I mean, eventually you will get damaged. Like, it'll have them. All right. I don't think there's much for ours on. Not the time.
Podrick.
Yeah, just hairdresser. You'll remember that one.
Podrick I3. I like the nickname, the Napkin Bomber. There's a little story to it apparently on Wikipedia if you want to go check that one out. But so I think the effect has potential, but there is one downside to it. So after a friendly device that you have locked detonates, each enemy ship at range 0 to 1 of that device gains 1 strain token. So with a high amount of usage of thermal detonators, that does seem good, but the downside is you have to lock that device. So you're spending a mod for your action to lock that device, unless you set up the diffused or fuse charge, but the problem is you can't because this doesn't have a mod slot like we just mentioned. It has a text slot instead. So you are taking your action to lock a device you've dropped, hoping that that's going to be the right device to deal extra strain out.
Yeah, but you're assuming after a friendly device that you have locked detonates each enemy ship at range 0 to 1. That's only if she's flying it herself, because you do have Captain Nim in this faction.
I was going to go with Trajectory Nim as being Patrick's
you
best
can
friend.
you can just leave it on there, and that way you can throw. You don't even have to worry about doing a thermal. You can do like a seismic charge, and then the seismic charge will go towards the closest debris and do like the debris damage. But the seismic charge, you do the range bubble of the strain around the seismic charge. So then you get seismic charge. You extend the range of the potential output of that bomb to go one side to blow it up and cause damage, and then the other side still gets strained.
Man, so wait, are we potentially entering a world, because this is now weird, right? If you lock a seismic and you move it, where are you supposed to place it on the obstacle? Do you get to choose?
What do you mean if you move it?
Yeah, you don't move it.
Oh, okay. So it's just the area, because it says attach, right, and then it explodes, but it doesn't do. Maybe it's been a while since I was.
Okay. So I think I see what you're saying. So the seismic, which doesn't have a range 1 effect, would now have a range 1 effect because of Project. And
yes,
then in addition
but it would
to
only have it
that,
around its placement as a bomb.
It's placement of the bomb, not
the
rock
asteroid.
that it.
Yep.
Because basically, think about the seismic charge being just like a sound wave. So it's still triggering from that same spot. Just the sound wave is creating a rock to explode a certain distance away, and then that rock is creating debris damage within that rock. But the explosion still happened in that very satisfying sound where you have it locked.
Is it all worth it for extra strain? I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah, it's a lot. I mean, if you're already flying Nim and a Y-wing, I guess
You've spent a bunch of your points. Now, one of the things that it just kind of seems is that the Y-wings in Scum in general are just too expensive to be worth playing.
Wait, what? What'd you say?
they're expensive. That's actually a good time to compare them to.
Is it only the new ones though, or all of them?
In terms of which ones are
Like, which
No, I
ones
guess
are
all of them.
expensive?
I guess all of them, because also Cavill and Ray are pretty expensive too. Yeah.
Yeah, so we were talking about the i5 being 40 points and not worth it. Dutch Vander is 40 points, but he is a sport ship. He's not out there trying to actually do damage.
And he's the only one we see though, and that's just because he gives
that's
an
the most
extra
expensive
action.
one we see.
Yeah.
I mean, Nora's got an amazing defensive ability in Rebels, which it makes her easier to put on the board at a higher price point. And we
a
just
lot of people
don't.
will just, if it's an extended, a lot of people just opt into Arc 170 Nora though anyway.
Exactly. Right.
So I guess since we're already on named Ys, transition, do we see Drea Renthal resurface at all in Extended? She was a force before. We've seen, I think the last time I saw a solid use of Drea was in a stream game, Dion, you had, I don't know if it was a top 4 or top 8, but it was Drea and Spacers. And it had cannons mixed in. Granted, now we have tracers, but if you don't have a missile carrier, which it's kind of easy to find in Scum, Drea is still a force multiplier where you don't require a ship to shoot its attack that has no potential damage and requires it to hit to get those extra modifiers. So do we see a chance that Drea comes back or no?
Unlikely. Maybe the Spacers and Tracers version of it. or not. I said tracers. Maybe the spacers version of it. But no.
I think the problem is that tracers are the thing that pushed Drea out. Why pay 40? What is it? 43? No, 46. Why pay
46 plus at least a 2-point turret, right?
Yeah.
For dorsal.
When I can pay 2 for the same effect, better effect. Sorry,
Yeah.
I think somebody. I made this a sub Gold Squadron. I think brought up a good point. I think the Y-wings are trying to be something else in Scum than they are in Rebels, which I think is the bigger problem. Is their function in list building is strange right now. I don't think they've found their spot.
Yeah, I agree. I expected like a cool new turret, some sort of unique tech slot that would really, make Ordnance shine on them, and we just didn't get it. I don't know if it like got cut at the last second and never made it into the package, but they didn't provide anything other than I think like the new bombs that weren't in Scum expansions previously. But yeah, I feel like there's something missing. My mind goes to targeting synchronizer because like Y-wings like locks and ordnance and stuff like that. And I just don't think slapping padded analyzer on these things as kind of an every other round contraband cybernetics-ish, kind of. It just isn't pushing them over the edge. Y-wings in general aren't taking contraband cybernetics to begin with. So these, because turns out they don't need a K-turn. They have turrets and bombs.
I will agree. It's definitely weird that we didn't get at least one new tech since they got the tech slot. So I guess a lot of people have been trying the low initiative ones with automated target priority. To 1 point, I'm shooting a lot because I have turrets. I'm probably going to miss, so let's bank up some calc and start locking stuff. So...
yeah, that was a list you've seen. I think it was automated ion and thermals for 40-point Y-wing. They might have thrown in some dorsals and munitions in there. I don't know. I believe the 5 Y-wings like to run like 3 of one kind and 2 of the other to kind of get some mixed arms in there. But all those upgrades are actually hyperspace. So. And we've seen it do well. I think we'll probably see more 5Ys. I don't know what of what flavor, but I think people have leaned into the automated target priority as being like the go-to tech slot for them. Is that really? I'm trying to double check. What is the cheapest Y-wing? It's still the Republic one.
Yep, the cheapest Y-wing in the game is still the Republic generic Y-wing, 29. Which is kind of odd, but sure. It's the only one with an actual ability. Plated armor, or whatever it is called.
Right. I mean, with the worst dial, but like I would trade plated hull for the one banks all day.
Yeah, what red maneuvers are you doing? Or what, I mean, like, why barrel when you can just position better, right?
Right.
Or just slap an R4 on there. It works.
All right. Well, let's keep it rolling. Let's look at the rest of the faction that hasn't been seen in a long time. We'll go ahead and we'll cycle through you guys, and I'll just pop in when I want to say something. Here we go. Let's go ahead and let's get this started. There we go.
Breaking my heart.
We'll start with Marcel.
Uh-oh. You're not breaking my heart no more. All right. So the IG-88, well, just all the aggressors, A, B, C, D. So I think these are still good. I think they were doing well in I forgot who it was, but somebody was flying them with advanced sensors and just a bunch of other toys, bombs, shooting twice, getting free evades when they do their thing. I think somebody else, you can also, instead of using the shooting twice one, people were using like the one where you get the free evade and then you can change your your sloops into Talon rolls. Actually, it's not even a Talon roll. It's into like a weird angle sloop because you don't actually flip out the same way. You do like a whole 270-degree turn. Yeah, that one right there. But I think they're still viable. I just like before, I don't like their initiative 4. I think once you get into extended and hyperspace, definitely initiative 3 is a hot commodity. That hot commodity ceases to be a hot commodity in extended because now you're getting either a lot of spam with the Sloans and the you just get a lot of spam, M3As, the cartel spacers, or you start getting into the I5 and I6. So it's I think people can make it work. I don't think anything new came out that makes them better. Maybe you can add the what's that one point, the cutthroat, to maybe recharge one of their bombs, or recharge if you got contraband instead of advanced sensors. That way you can do your K turns with the one, IG-88D. You can make double use of it with just 3 points plus 1 in cutthroat. But I think for the most part, they're relatively still the same. So yeah, I think people can make them work. I just don't think they became necessarily better with the stuff that came out. I don't think anything helps them. The tools that they had are still the same tools that they have now. And I5, I6 will always have you can beat them, but I think they'll always have the advantage over these because these things, they need to keep arcing. That's probably the hardest thing with single arc medium base ships, is they have a hard time keeping time on target.
Yeah, the only thing I can think of might be Gamat Key, which was the Hawk who lets you, or crew, that lets you keep circular tokens. These guys all have the advanced droid brains. When they take 1 calculate, they do take 2 calculates. So you can kind of freeze both of their calculates right before they K-turn or right before they engage into battle. But I don't really see any combinations. I mean, we'll start the drink when we mention Kanan. Could help them defend, but that's all I got on my mind right now.
I would like to point out one thing, a combination that I think might only be possible on this ship in Scum. False transponder codes have been a big deal. And I think they're the only ship that can take false transponders and a sensor slot, which is passive sensors. So at I4, that's a cheap passive sensors. You have IG-88A in there somewhere to pass some calculates around to make sure someone gets a defensive token if they passive. You don't have to passive with both. You can be selective about it. You can take cutthroat to help get it back. Maybe. You're going to get that false transponders off for sure, because you're going to passive sensors. They'll lock you or not, because if they lock you, they're going to get jammed, or you will lock them right when you engage. Perfect time. I lock you, you lose your token, and now I shoot you. So
I like that. I like that a lot.
Maybe.
Well, it makes it less likely for the false transponder codes to get wasted, or you force your opponent to target lock you because you don't want your other ship to possibly get jammed by them, but then you're potentially like messing up their action decisions, which is always good, just being disruptive.
You are definitely losing out on the ability to take an action after you do your K-turner sloop, though. Like, you're taking the sensor slot, you lose advanced sensors, and you take the illicit slot, you lose contraband cybernetics, which we know are both valuable in their own right on these aggressors. Do we want Will or me for the generic Fang?
We'll go Will.
All right, generic Fang. This is the Zealous Recruit. and the Squadron pilot. Both of them have that Concordia face-off ability, giving them some free evades when they're being shot at range 1 of the attacker's front arc. I have always been in the opinion that Fangs are super good. Crazy defensive. They can't take the evade action, but every time, I've flown a lot of Fangs, but every time I fly Fang, and I fly right into combat, and there's a ship or two looking at me range 1, I'm like, well, I have a focus, and now I got 2 evade tokens, essentially, with Concordia done. So we've seen them, especially we've seen 4 skulls do really well. We've seen 3 zealots and something else. I think Octa was flying Boskin 3 of them. Now you could probably run. Can you run 4 in a Hawk? I don't think so. I don't think it's just close enough. I'm double checking right now. List building on the fly. I don't think the points work out on it. Does it? Oh, yeah, you can. You can run 4 and a 36-point Hawk of your choice. Stapusk or Gamut Key should be nice. Actually, Gamut Key, I think I've looked at this. That's what I was thinking of it. Gamut Key could hold on to one of their focus tokens for if they bump next round or never needed it or something like that. That could be an interesting list. Maybe you just want to put a Spice Runner or somebody like a coordinator with the new Protectorate Gleb out there as well. I guess you could actually do that on Key. You got 2 points for that Key list.
Yeah, you can just keep Gamut and then put a
put the Gleb on there.
Gleb on it. Yeah, so you get to keep a token plus. You get to have someone keep a token plus
Coordinate one of them.
One.
That's not bad for a list build on the fly. That looks pretty good. You cannot go into range 1 of all those Fangs. You will not do any damage. Well, you do minimum damage anyways. So I think that they're have and always will be a strong contender, and all they really needed was a little bit of spice, a little bit of extra help from the ships around them.
If we wanted to also, if we were revisiting, we mentioned Octor Khan and his variation, which was 2 Zealous Recruits and 4 Spacers. Now, obviously, the original version doesn't fit anymore because Tractor Beam went up by 1 point from 3 to 4, because it used to be 2 tractors, 2 ion cannons. But do you think it's that much of a downer to basically now do 2 ion cannons, 1 Tractor Beam, and 1 Tracer Missile? Feel like that probably could do some work. You have less Tractor Beam area coverage threat, but you have better model. You've now traded half of that coverage of Tractor Beam threat for another ship that can just give all of your ships locks. So that has to be at least viable. So, Dion, any quiet additions, or should we move on to the named fire sprays?
I love Fangs. That's it. I think we should. I like that idea of that list of 4 with the Hawk. I think we should try that on Wednesday.
Yeah, I've been flying 3 of them and Lando with Hondo, and I forget who. I just read it too. Someone. I made this up. So you can do Hawk Cannon and 3 I4s as well. So I like that. I like the idea of that. I want a little bit of coordination in there, though. That's
I
really
like the Gamut one better. You just make the 4 of them, and you can toss. Basically, you get them double token twice, and you just make them tankier.
They can't take. That's the worst part about the key with them, is that they can only ever have 1 circular token. Well, I guess I think I see what you're saying now, though. But they can take another focus action, giving them 2 modifiers. That makes sense.
Make one of them Cad Solus for a turn.
Or you could dive in and end up having a lock. That's the thing. So hardly ever have target lock actions, and that's an opportunity for at least one heavy hitter to go in and be like, I'm fully modified now.
Yeah. I want Key with my tractors, with my tugboats. Are we in tugboats yet?
He's going mean Key route. All right, so named fire sprays. Well, may as well start with the man himself, Boba Fett. No crew slot. I think there's still some people who've been messing around who are Boba loyalists out there who didn't just drop him like a bad habit after they lost the crew slot. Still really good. Just doesn't have that force from Maul anymore. But we have plenty of Hawks to help him out along the way now. Whether it is Gamut, whether it's Kanan, whether it's just, excuse me, Palob or Torkel, the ones we already know. Palob more likely if it's in a Boba list to just take opponents' tokens away, make Boba that much more difficult to defend against and attack when he gets into range 1. So still really powerful. Is it going to be a meta staple depending on how it forms out? Hard to tell. There's plenty of combinations of other ships you can put with it besides just Hawks. We know that Fen Rao has always been good with Boba to go the 2-ship route. We have also with Zam crew could provide Boba could have a small coordinating friend and a wingmate, whether it's like a Dengar or a Namlam or a Bosk, and then someone to coordinate to them, whether it is if you can fit a Hawk with Protector Gleb or say an escape craft, which is meant to be cheap, and I'm here to coordinate, and that's it. Besides Boba, I think it just falls down to if you're running it, the only time you get another fire spray is if you're running 2 of them, I think. Iman Azamine, Bomb Menace. We have thermal detonators, so maybe could see more use. Does have the crew slot, has front and back arc. So having multiple arcs has always been good with Zam crew. But if Zam goes in either fire spray, I think it's probably Koshka. Because while you perform an attack, if the enemy ship is stressed, you may reroll one of your dice. So Boba Mini, as long as there's stress out there, has always been potentially effective without spending a ton of points if you put 000 on Koshka, saying, hey, I get a calculator, hey, I get a reroll. Neat. And then people mess around with Crassus Trellix and sometimes Kath Scarlet. I don't even think I've seen Kath played almost ever. Any interesting other things to point out with the other named ones or even Boba friends to put with him? Marcel or Will?
No, I would reference back to like the double fire spray days, but I think everybody who was trying double fire sprays has found new avenues for that.
One of the things I wonder is with, we know that Boba Fett's really good. Somebody even said in the chat, like, I want to try other things. Are people going to just move on from some of the ships? Like, Boba Fett's been good for such a long time. Are they going to move on just to play something new going into this meta?
I mean, it depends on what they were. Go ahead, Ron.
It's always a likely thing, but yeah, Will, you probably had a longer point. Go ahead. Oh,
no, I was just going to say that. It depends on why they were flying Boba. Were they flying a fire spray, or were they flying someone who can just have a lot of modifications? So if they're looking for a lot of modifications, they probably moved on to some Jedi or Imperial Ace or something like that.
Or Hera.
Yeah, Hera. I mean, Django. I think a lot of people have moved on to the Separatist fire sprays because that's
my next question though. Is if when you in hyperspace you didn't have a choice. If you wanted to fly a fire spray, you had to go. Most of the time, Zam was number one and Django's number two. But if you're saying like I'm a fire spray player, which do exists, right? Y'all are out there. Will they take Zam because Zam is just new, or do you go Boba Fett now because Boba's still really, really good on his own?
I mean, if it depends on if you're looking for what you're looking for in your wingman. And Separatist, just assuming that Zam is your fire spray. You really only have like Django, and then you got Grievous, and then maybe like some hyenas or something. But in Scum, you do have, like, you can go Iman with a couple Skirgs. I've seen that flying around. Very mean list. Bomb forward. But you also have, like, Guri and Bosk that you can pair with the fire spray to really get some more diverse list buildings. So I think it has less to do with the fire spray and more to do with the friend with them.
Yeah, but especially when you mention Iman with other bombing friends, I can definitely see some bomb enthusiasts revisit the Iman route and see how that may factor in Iman, Nim, and can you fit something a little extra that's bombed? Will someone try Podrick? I don't know. More likely, someone might put in. I think I've seen people playing around with Constable Zuvio. So I think it needs to be. It's generally a pretty cheap ship if you want to really put the mass-ish amount of upgrades you would put on Nim and Iman. And then you put in like Zuvio or just probably a Jakku Gunrunner. Like, it has bombs too, but I'm going to tractor you and put you on the thing I just dropped and you're going to have a bad day type of thing. So you may see some bomb enthusiasts find many usage of that. I think there is also Ernastus. Ernastus Ramanaskis, I think, or something close to that. I think he spent some time on Boba Nim for quite a while. I'll be curious to see if he continues on forth from that. That might be one of the higher placing Bobas in fire sprays and Scum bombing that we might see in general. So I think it's G1As with Marcel.
Sorry. Jumping around. So the G1As, yeah, so I don't think the G1As are going to be making much more noise than they were before. I don't think they got necessarily any new tools that they didn't have earlier. I think Florlam is still the only viable option. I was looking around to see if I can throw anything on there that wasn't on there before.
I mean,
the only thing I can think about is Protector Gleb because of the ability, so you can move,
you got it.
get yourself distress to coordinate somebody, and then toss that stress to someone else. It says after you fully execute. The only problem is in this particular case, you're not giving yourself you're not giving yourself a calculate at the start of the end phase. You may choose so you're ending up without a calculate versus when you do a red maneuver, typically you get a calculate. But again, it's a good way to. You doing okay? Oh, wait, man down. Okay. So it's a good way to get Protector Gleb out there in a way that kind of you get the benefit of the coordinate, and then also you get to stress another ship, which is something that we thought about doing. Like, can you coordinate a ship and then toss that ship the bad token? In this case, you could. So I don't know. Other than that, Zuckuss has always been, I thought, just too hard to keep keep guns on target. Just you lose. It's medium based ships are just so hard to keep on target when they only have one arc. So Zuckus doesn't really do it, and the Gan Finder for 41 points, you get much more mileage out of a Fang for the same points, or out of basically anything else. It's just not a good. It's not a good investment of 41 points. I don't know. Will, Ryan, is there anything that?
Well, Ryan mentioned it earlier. Passive sensors and false transponder codes can be put onto these G1A starfighters. Now, I normally see advanced sensors on Forlom, but somebody like Zuckus or the Gand Findsman could take advantage of it.
That's 45 points though. For
I know,
something that triggers once.
For a jam action.
Yeah.
I mean, so think about. I think Zuckus for 49 points, passive sensors, false transponder. That's not bad, right? Like,
It's not
if
good.
you get him a lock, or he has a lock.
Maybe with Cutthroat, so you could get a couple more false transponders.
And you have a Hawk with Gleb there somewhere, right? So you're just potentially, just lowering the bar. You're lowering the cost of something you're investing some of these combinations into. I mean, it's 4 dice is 4 dice, even if they get 1 dice as well. It gets built-in trick shot.
Yeah, throw Gleb on there on Forlom. Yeah. And then you get Gamut key. I don't know. Like I said, it seems like a lot of points. I mean, it's fun. Just, are we talking about casual night fun? I think it's interesting. It'll be as competitive as any other competitive jank. Is it good once you get past, league night? I don't think any of these are.
I think one of the Forlom has always been a favorite of mine to play at something like a casual night, or even competitively, because if you don't understand the way it moves, if you've ever seen a Forlom with Kira on it, it is hilarious. If it can control the middle of a board and just be able to sit on a debris and or on a debris or a gas cloud and just be able to dish out stress with blocking people, it's pretty good. All right, let's keep going. Next one is the Contracted Scout.
Okay, I think we're back to me. Contracted Scout recently got booted out of hyperspace in the last update with the new releases. There's not much to say other than they basically killed the Contracted Scout when they released Namlam, and now that you can't slap a bunch of the most efficient upgrades on them and run 3 or 4 torpedo versions of them. There's really just not a lot you can do with multiple generic jump masters. You should, I wouldn't say you should, but most people have always gravitated towards Namlam or Dengar, which is pretty standard next swing. You take either the cheapest one or the highest initiative one. But I just don't think that there's anything that Contracted Scout can do that Namlam couldn't do for cheaper.
I think you hit it on the nose there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's keep
And moving on to our other wayward generic from the customized YT-1300, the Freighter Captain. Kind of similar situation. L337 is the same cost, exists in hyperspace. Granted, L33 was I2, Freighter Captain was I1, so if you want to guarantee blocks, you got a big base ship, you got the Freighter Captain, it has boost. Doesn't have the barrel roll that the Jumpmaster has, which I think in most cases you would probably want the Jumpmaster if you were going block and you were going to take Namlam anyway. It's just cheaper. So,
but Ryan, I can fit 4 of them.
You can, and they'll all die.
But it was fun.
I mean, you could, what was it, 4, and you could just do feedback array on all of them, and then figure it out from there. There's 24 points left. That's so much.
Static discharge vanes on
4 of
all
them
of
with
them.
feedback array, and then 1 Z95 with tracers. Assuming the Z95s are 22 points and not 23 like they used to be. Yeah, 22. You used to have to pay like that 1 point tax for having the illicit slot, but besides that. So yeah, Freighter Captain exists. I don't expect to see it anywhere. Onward. Bye, Freighter Captain.
All right, next, you're going with the Corax, and now it's all of the Corax fighters. They were all removed from hyperspace. The things with the Corax fighters, I think that comes, the thing that people will naturally gravitate to back is the whole Torkel. What was that whole list? It was Torkelmux, the Jammer. What's that?
Seavor.
Captain Seavor, and then 3 Corax fighters. I believe that still fits. I don't think
It got cheaper.
Oh, there you
You
go.
can fit more things with it.
And yeah, you can throw some false transponder codes in there, maybe a tracer missile or something. Like you can, or I don't know, depends on how much cheaper it got. But that's still going to be good. The thing that I think just it could be a little janky, it could be a little good, but the ship that benefits the most from the most recent release is Victor Hell. Out of this, it's Initiative 4 pilot. It has an ability that says after you defend, if you did not roll exactly 2 defense dice, the attacker gains 1 stress token. And the cards that kind of makes sense for this one is adding Cutthroat plus Stealth Device. Stealth Device, basically anytime that somebody shoots at you, regardless of what range, they're going to get a stress. So they're automatically taking a stress just for shooting at you. And then once you get the damage in, if you lose your Stealth Device, Cutthroat will allow you to regain it if a different ship dies. So that's always nice. And then you can even toss it in with something like a false transponder code to keep it, 2 points to keep it more defensive, so somebody doesn't target lock you. And then on top of that, you can also, with Cutthroat, false transponders, and Stealth Device, that comes in at 52 points. But if something else dies and you still have your Stealth Device, then in that case, you would just like trigger back your false transponder codes or something. You get different things that you can get back with the Cutthroat. So it works out a little bit. Again, it's I don't even think it's that bad. I was going to say it's kind of like League Night, but if you find the right combination for this, having a ship, threatening a ship to say, regardless if you hit me or not, if you declare to shoot at me and I have 3 agility or 4 at range 3, if you decide to shoot at me, you will gain a stress. It already makes a lot of ships just say, nah, I'm not going to shoot at you. And then you're still a 3-die attack at Initiative 4. Again, there's other things that you can add on it. False transponder codes, contraband cybernetics. It has multiple multiple mod slots. I don't think at this point you want to invest too much in it, but it's still, I think just with the stealth and Cutthroat is fine. False transponder codes, if you have 2 extra points to give, that'll be good. So between the generic Carax and the Vector Hell, I think there's some room to do some. There's some room for them to be in lists that might be competitive. I know also Matt Carey was on here earlier. I know Matt's been a fan, and some other people are a fan of Captain Justero. There's a lot of ways to get extra damage out there. A lot of bombs around. A lot of the Kimojila with the bullseye. What is his name? Dallin or one of those guys.
Wow, the other one, not
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one's the one that
Tarani
gets three
called up.
shields, but Tarani, there you go. But anyway, so Karax will be around. Karax will be somebody will be flying. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at least one Karax list made the cut at the first Galaxy's qualifier coming up on May 1st. Is that correct?
Props on the transition there. That was really nice little segue.
Well, I messed it up last week, so I was trying to make up for it. But yeah, I think at least one of them will do. We'll get at least one Karax that'll make that cut, I think. Anything else that I missed with the Karax other than basically Victor Hell, kind of janky but good. Justero, okay, pretty good with that, but mostly the generic Karax.
I was gonna say, do we see the reemergence of the Torkoal 3 Cartel Marauders in Seavor again? Is there any reason that's been like any reason to think that couldn't show up?
No, I think it's still good.
Great.
I think it's just like one of those pick your flavor once you get to those 5 ship lists that are just flying in a kind of formation doing things. I mean, you still get to jam, you still get to make somebody initiative 0, you get to shoot a whole bunch of dice.
I posted that it is actually at 195 these days, which means you could even bump up one of those cartels to a nice little zealous recruit, or get some bombs or gleb or false or whatever you want.
You can fit bombs and gleb if it's 195.
It is 195.
Throw thermal and gleb on there, both.
That'd be some spicy Torkoal. I mean, he's going to be target number 1 anyways, so may not want to put points on him, but also need him doing things though too.
I think I would spend it on contraband, on the Kirax.
You would only get contraband on 1 though, so.
Still, if you're not trying to invest points, I think it could be worth it. And in the joust, not for one of them.
Wait, I think we made the list recently for a friend. Don't we just? Is it 4 points left? We've just Seavor 5. Zam Crew, easy.
Zam Crew. Actually, yeah, we've seen Torkoal with Zam Crew when it was with the in the Tarani builds, where Tarani can power up Zam for him.
Mm-hmm. Good thing Torkoal doesn't have a talent slot, otherwise I would slap Cutthroat on him too. I think you just take that last one, you either take a bid or you could put Marge Sable on C4. He likes going through rocks.
Just like rocks. All right. Well, I think we covered that. Let's move on to the Lancer class pursuit craft. I literally had to pull up, I think it's Shadowport Hunter. Oh, I could just read your screen. Shadowport Hunter is the I2 version. We got Sabine Run and Ketsu and Assange. We've seen a lot of Ketsu. I think that there is strong synergy by putting Gamatki on your Ketsu to keep those tractor tokens, because Ketsu gives out a tractor at range 1. That's her ability. I'm sure it's pulled up on the screen. At the start of engagement, choose a friendly ship in your front arc and turret arc, which you just overlap them. It's range 0 to 1. If you do, the ship gains 1 tractor token. That 0 to 1 is the exact requirement for Gamatki Crew. A ship at range 0 to 1 and does not remove its circular tokens. So you can get with the Shadowcaster title, you can also get multiple tractor beams, or excuse me, tractor tokens on a single target when it's nearby, which is something you essentially couldn't do before, because the only way to keep tractor tokens before was Ketsu Crew. And you can't obviously have Ketsu Crew and Ketsu Pilot in the same list. So Gamatki now can come back in as the crew member of choice for Ketsu and be able to keep those tractors around, which is honestly very scary. You cannot get next to this Ketsu then. Plus, if she's not using it for you, Ketsu could just hold on to some evades, hold on to focus token, things like that. Also has 2 illicit slots, so you can take cybernetics and false transponder codes. Wow, the real reason that ships have had 2 illicit slots. So beyond Ketsu, Assange, because they all have the Shadowcaster title, they could all, in theory, take Gauntlet Key or have like a Gauntlet Key Hawk flying next to them to kind of hold on to those Tractor Beam things. I just think it works best on Ketsu because she puts out a guaranteed one at range 1. As far as Assange, I feel like everyone wants Assange, but like no one's willing to commit to her. Like, it's so strange to me that Ketsu is only 2 points cheaper than the Force user. It's mind-boggling to me.
It's 2 Force. You get. I don't get that either. Like I don't know. I don't fly.
I mean,
lately,
I5 and Tractor helps, I'm sure.
It does, but also you can put the title on. The title's not that expensive now. No. You can do 2 Force, Zam, 2 arcs. So you get 2 arcs. You get to put Zam on there. You get the 2 Force, and you also get the ability to basically stress someone. Say, hey, this whole area you're getting stressed. It's just, and then it has one of the best styles. I think not one of the best. It has the best style of any large base ship. Period. So I don't know why this ship doesn't. I don't know why it doesn't do more.
It's the same thing that you were saying about medium bases having bad time on target because they're essentially most of them are only front arc ships, and now when you overlap those arcs to do some Shadowcaster abilities, or I think Assange is only in the choose an enemy in your turret arc. So a lot of the times people are overlapping their turret over their 3-dice primary out the front, and it makes them only a front arc ship.
Yeah, if you're going after the tractor for sure, but you don't necessarily go like.
Well, if you're planning on using the 2-dice turret, you might as well have brought a 1300 and pay less points.
I mean, you could be a hawk at that point. You could be a spice runner if you're trying to just shoot a 2-dice turret.
No, but you still have the 3 dice out of the front. You still have the ability to stress someone. You still have, you still have 10 health. You still have 2 force. You can still have. They have the evade action, right? Yeah, they can still have 2 force and evade. Stress ships, crazy dial, 5K on a large base ship, and then be able to clear that pretty easily with this very good false transponder carrier, because anytime you hit 3 attack dice with 2 force, excellent carrier for false transponder codes. So she's got a lot of utility. I think it's just one of those situations where out of sight, out of mind. And people just haven't put the time to build something right around it.
I just think it's a big investment for a ship that has honestly not great time on target. When you're doing those 3-speed maneuvers, you end up being too fast to pursue, and then you're stuck just 5K blue maneuver, 5K blue maneuver over and over again, and it just doesn't. It doesn't act like other large base turrets do. It acts very much like a jouster, and for whatever reason, we haven't seen as much success. I do agree with you, Marcel. I think people should fly Asajj more. She's like as cheap as she could get right now. Like, she's gone down in price in a lot of the updates, and she can't get any cheaper. But let's there is one more. I don't care about the Shadow Point Hunter. Sorry, Shadow Point Hunter. I'm not gonna fly you.
The Shadow Port, its only claim to fame is it's pretty art. That's it.
Let's see that art.
It is pretty.
I mean,
That's
it's the cleanest art, really showing off that chassis, right? I mean, it's a Zam carrier, just like everything else in Scum. Like, you slap Zam to it, I'm sure it'll be fine in an actual game. But I'm not trying to like build my list around it. And as a 58-point filler, I can find other options as well. There is Sabine Wren. I'll read her pilot ability, just so everyone knows that she does exist still. While you defend, if the attacker's in your front or in your mobile arc, at range 0 to 2, you can add an eyeball result to your dice results. I guess there is some synergy between key, like holding a focus token. That's about it. I mean, there's other ways you could do it, like obviously force point, 000.
Hey, Will.
What's up?
Do you know? Let's take a jump back to Asajj. So currently she's 68 points.
Okay.
Do you want to guess where she started?
Dude, like 79, almost 80 points. I bet
84.
84.
84.
82.
Wow.
So
yeah,
84.
And you paid, and Marcel paid for it in the Gold Squadron Classic.
Yeah, and I made the cut with only her and Han Solo. It was a 2-ship, well, 3 because autopilot.
Well, 3.
A 2.5 ship list. Like I'm telling you, that was at 80-something points. Now you can have Asajj.
68 right now for reference.
Now you got Asajj, Han, and you can fit. And then, like, I was just building the same list that I flew at that. I was thinking about that too, Dion. I was building the exact same list. I can add false transponder codes on top of that I didn't have before, and contraband cybernetics, plus fit an entire Joy Wreckoff at 47 points, Fang Fighter. So I can get that same list plus an extra false transponder code plus Joy Wreckoff. Who's Initiative 4 Fang Fighter. While you perform an attack, you may spend a charge, blah, 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 blah. Actually, that's a terrible one to fly.
You should just put Kanan in there instead.
But you can fly something else. Yeah, the whole point is you get 47 points. You get like 50 to 40-something to 50 points to play with. So there's things there. There's stuff to do there for sure.
I have seen a lot of, or I wouldn't say a lot. The Asajjs I have seen were actually flying next to Lando instead of Han. The problem with Han and Asajj is that you have to do like heightened perception or something.
Yeah, that's what I had on the build that I was saying. It was Asajj with heightened 000. There's a reason for 000. False transponder, contraband, and shadowcaster title, and the 000 is there because when you use heightened perception, you want to get that token back, that force back. So you basically say, do you give me a calculate, which essentially is a force, or do you take a stress? And if they choose the stress, then you just double stress them. So it's the 000 on Asajj essentially becomes a third. So that way you get to recharge, essentially. As long as you stay in the mix, you get to recharge 2 force or 2 soft focuses every turn because you recharge your focus, and then 000, usually the opponent always gives you the extra calculate with Asajj.
All right. Moving forward to the M12L Chemogilla, and we got to start with the most popular one that has shown up multiple times in many Scum list variations. Tirani Kolda, the ship you slap snapshot on, or some people like to run cluster missiles. Just opportunity to shoot twice. I personally more in favor of the snapshot version and then figure it out from there. I'm not really as big of a fan of just saying, hey, I need a lock on an enemy ship in general with clusters. I guess you can do the wrecked astromech with cluster missiles, lock a friend. Friend goes out, says, shoot me. You don't do any damage to your friend, and then you pick an enemy ship that he's close to, right? I think the snapshot's just more points friendly. I actually think more threatening to most things. You're shooting a ship before it has a chance to get any mods unless it's a force user or has been coordinated or gamut keyed, one of the few things. And then that railgun has been good both for catching aces or fragile single ships, but also has been good to do extra damage to swarms. It's just getting your points worth out of Tirani, because Tirani will probably die. But Tirani is there to threaten that extra damage as much as possible. It's just got to be really careful with Tirani's positioning and maximize that bullseye as best you can. Or even if Tirani never gets it off during a game, if you've flown it correctly to herd things away or towards your wingmates that are trying to close in on them, it's still valuable even if you don't trigger it, unless the only reason you don't trigger is because Tirani got wiped off the board before you had an opportunity to, which would be really sad and, may have been your fault for opting into a bad spot. But we have two other pilots. Dalen Oberos, for those who probably forgot what Dalen Oberos even does in the Chemogila, at the start of engagement, you may choose a shielded ship in your bullseye and spend a charge. If you do, that ship loses one shield and you recover one shield. So you're just pulling a shield from an enemy ship at the start of engagement and giving it to yourself. You recover, can't go over your total amount. I've never seen a reason to use Dalen, to be quite honest. It's a kind of neat ability, but I'd rather have Tirani. And then down to the Cartel Executioners. They're 41 points. They're the same cost as Zealous Recruit Fangs. Sure, you have the Dead to Right ship ability. You could do pretty much the same thing we looked at earlier, which was 4 Cartel Executioners with Gamut Key and Gleb, just to make sure some of them get double mods. Make those Dead to Right shots more dangerous, but I'm pretty sure the Fangs are just a better buy in most cases, other than I have 4 medium bases and I'm taking up the space and you can't take it away from me, that kind of thing. But they are A3, so they even themselves can be blocked. So if you're gonna put in a Chemogila, you may as well put in Tirani. I don't know how often you're taking more than one Chemogila.
If you're trying to build like Scum, 3 attack dice swarm that's not Fangs, they're just a good buy. The problem is their maneuverability is not very good, and obviously the 1 agility burns them down pretty quick. But the jousting efficiency, I know that doesn't really matter because people don't always joust, is good. The problem is that people have tools against it.
Yep. Someone in the chat even mentioned with Dead to Rights, is expert handling an option to try and maximize with the bullseye. So an adage I always tend to go by, so for people who don't know, all of these Chemogilas have talents. So yes, even the generics can take talent slots such as expert handling because they do have red barrel rolls. I'm always in the mindset that I'd rather better modify my dice than affect my opponent's dice, because I'd rather red dice already are at a higher benefit versus green dice, just naturally how the dice are constructed in their faces. So I'd rather make sure my red dice are as best they can, rather than negating some level of green dice or negatively affecting them. So that's why we don't see Juke being as much of a buy on any ship that can't get an evade automatically through some means, whether it's full throttle or like the TIE Phantom ship ability. Then on to the generic Cartel Spacer for Marcel. He gets the fun one.
Is it really the fun one though?
I think it's the easy
one. Yeah. It's the good one, for sure. It's the one that I out of this list, yeah, I think out of the list that's all new, outside of potentially Boba Fett on the fire spray, is the one that is most likely to make the biggest impact on extended versus hyperspace, and that's the generic M3A. And again, it's just such a versatile ship with the ability. It's 4 health, three hull, one shield. You have the potential to put essentially any the hard point, basically any weapon, any secondary weapon in the game that's either a cannon, a missile, or torpedo on there. And just you can still do Acticon was flying the 2 zealots recruits and 4 cartel spacers. That still fits. The only difference is that he was flying 2 zealots recruits, 2 tractor beams, and 2 ions. You would have to replace either one of those tractor beams or ions, your choice, with a tracer missile instead. You're really not losing a whole lot by doing that anyway, because what you get out of the tractor beam is I would say equal to or less than what you get with a tracer. When you get the tracer, basically you're upping the potential damage on that ship. You're not giving it any damage, but you're upping the potential of damage on that ship by landing an attack. And with the tractor beam, you're lowering their agility and repositioning them. With this, you're giving everybody target locks, which again, it's just upping the damage potential that you're giving them. So you're really not losing anything if you're going with Octacon's list by dropping one of those things to a tractor beam. You can also just get even more aggressive and throw in a couple binary pilots. So you do 2 zealots recruits, 2 binary pilots with Z95s. I should have won Z95s with tracers and false transponder codes, and then that allows you to do more with your cartel spacers. Again, instead of just having to just go ion, you can go an ion, and you can even fit like a proton torpedo and a tractor beam or something like that. So you can get there's a lot of things that you can do to make these ships work, and that's if you're spamming them. And even if you're not spamming them, you just need a couple ships to be your blockers, Initiative 1 blockers. Again, ion cannons work really well with them. If you're not spamming them, you probably don't want a tractor beam, but nobody wants to be ioned.
I think one of the things that lend to the usefulness of the M3A as well is just because it is cheap. It's cheap and can carry dangerous ordnance. So here's my question to you guys: if it didn't have the hardpoint slot, would we see M3As?
Well, probably not.
No, I think period. I don't think we would see it. The only reason we see them is because, like, you might see Xena. It's because they can take those effect cannons at a low cost, and they have that what's the word? They can
they're flexible.
They're flexible, and they add on top. They're a multiplier. That's what I was looking for.
You can look at the TIE FO as an example. The TIE FO, sorry Ryan, just real quick. The TIE FO has the same stat line, a better dial, same stat line, comes in at 25 points, and almost nobody flies them unless they're flying them specifically with like Maurus or something that gives them extra things. But on their own, nobody really flies them.
So, and that's why I was going to point to is that I don't know if that's true. I mean, yes, weapon hardpoint, 100%, big value, because you get cheap ships with cannons or other ways to provide these secondary weapons that are powerful for them at a cheap cost. But so if you're comparing it to the FO, you don't have the sloops, but you have the 5K and the 3K. 5Ks are really good. It's more distance. You lose the 3 turn, but you gain the 1 bank. Besides that, everything else is the same.
The blues are different, way different.
True. So after 5K turns, Seeks are not as good, but the one bank is still normally enough most of the time, because that 5K is so much distance that even a bank angle can kind of get you pointing at something. And Epsilon Squadron cadets are pretty good fillers. I mean, even not in a Malrus swarm, we commonly have seen successful first order lists, which it feels like it's been a while because Epsilon Squadron cadets are not available in hyperspace. But those mixed in filler FOs still very valuable.
My rebut to that statement though is the difference is that in M3A lists, a lot of times you're building your list on the M3A. You don't build your list on the FO. Most
Correct.
of the time.
Generally, the only time you build your list on the FOs is because you have Malrus. But like you said, the reason why we can build lists for M3As is because they have the weapon hardpoint. If we don't have them, then they turn into more the cadet, where they're either filler or they go with Drea. But then in a world without cannons, that's a whole different story. And you're probably right with how much there is how many other things there are available in Scum right now. I think you likely just, like, if they didn't have the hard point, I would just take a Z95 with threat tracers.
So you take a Z95 with threat tracers, or even if at 25 points with that, why not just take 22 points? If you're just looking for a filler blocker I1, just take a TIE fighter, 22 points, 3 agility. It's only one, point difference, and it's got a shield. I mean, the shield is worth a lot, I guess, because if you put a shield on a TIE fighter, that's an extra 8 points. But I mean, at this point, like you said, it's just fillers. Just take some shots. It's not going to close out the game for you. It's just gonna block and be a nuisance.
Yeah, Quadra Jet Transfer Space Tug, lovingly known as Space Tug, or the Quad Jumper. So we got all of the named pilots, all of the pilots cost the exact same here. So we're not talking about points. Every single pilot is 29 in total. They have the Space Tug Tractor Array, which gives out a tractor token at range 1. Going back to what I was saying about tractor tokens on the Lancer craft, just Pursuit craft, Galmat Key is some real synergy with these guys. The ease of handing out the tractor tokens, not having to waste your shot or bring a cannon or things like that. Combos very well, being able to keep that tractor out there. We've also seen a lot of new bombs, and the quad jumpers, I think, have been utilizing them great. They have, obviously, Zuvio can put bombs out the front. We've seen, I personally like Sarko Plank, who, if you go 3 speed, you get 3 agility, which is pretty awesome. If you're just diving into the battle, but most people favor Zuvio, Unkar, or the Gun Runner, depending on essentially your squad. Unkar could be a penalty if you bump your own ships into him, so he's probably not good in the massed lists. But I think a one-off Jakku Gun Runner, because they have that crew slot, they are a potential Galeb candidate. So that's a 31-point coordinator. Wow. Who could also tractor beam you, also has 5 health. That's some good I would say efficiency in utility form.
I gotta bring this up. Can we all agree that most likely the Gleb needs to go up in points in the next point update just because of the amount of faction flexibility? Because how many times, similar to when we were talking about Rebels, and you're like, oh, just have Hera in your list because she's really good. It's almost like, oh, hey, you got a crew slot, and are you First Order, Imperial, or Scum? Yeah, just throw Gleb on there. We've said that so many times.
Well, I don't think it's First
true
Order
at all for First Order or Imperial. Like they don't really take as much advantage. This card purely is a problem in one faction. And it's
Right.
Yeah, they need a variable price it per faction. I don't know if they can do that. I know they can, but I don't know if they would do that. Because it definitely should be 2 points in Empire. In First Order, I think it should be like free. They don't care. Oh, I guess the side shuttles only have a red coordinate. So, okay, 2 points in those two factions. But yeah, in Scum, the amount of crew carriers is just astronomical. So, in comparison to the others. And should it go up? I don't know. I think he makes these little ships like the Spice Runner, like the Jakku Gun Runner, have that extra utility that could actually get them on the table and see play once in a while. Here's really, all right. So I said, 31 points for a Jakku Gun Runner with Gleb. L337, who also has red coordinate, costs 26 points. So I see what you're saying, Dion, but they already have the cheapest option you could possibly bring. So I don't think it's really been disruptive, just that it gives more options to those ships. So you're not forced to bring L337 every time.
And even if you are, because with those you used to put tactical, what is it?
Officers.
Yeah, you used to put tactical officer to not take the stress because they don't have a good way of clearing stress. Their blues are kind of limited. With with Gleb, you can basically do what tactical used to do, just coordinate somebody that's doing a blue maneuver and then you're fine because they're lower initiative. So it's kind of a way of still even getting those cheap ships, a cheaper version of tactical officer in a way.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, that is the utility of Gleb. Should it go up? Probably just a little bit, but like I said, they have other options. Really, where it's abusive, and Ghost Blanco points it out, is that it doesn't scale at all. It's the same price on a Spice Runner or L337 as it is if you put it on Han or Dengar. So, and we've seen, not a lot, but I've seen people experiment with putting Hondo on those higher initiative ships for that high initiative coordinate. All right, coordinate with full board state is always a better action decision. So I think he's good. Have we seen him in competitive play lately? I'm trying to think of.
It's kind of we're just getting started. We only had the Aces.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Nobody wanted to fly Scum in the Aces. Nobody wanted to fly any of those.
I'm pretty sure Alex Smittle took like a Bosk, a fat Bosk, and Fen, and I think Kanan with Gleb.
Yeah,
it was because it was hyperspace only. Now that we're in extended, now the shackles are off.
Yeah, now you have the other options. That's true.
Many options. So I think that was the thing before you mentioned the escape craft hasn't been too much an issue. Well, that's because you had to pay the entire points for the escape craft just to get coordinate your list at the cheapest cost possible. Now you can find a ship that like, oh, I like this ability on a Hawk. Let's just add 2 points to it to also give it coordinate. Seems good.
I was boasting about flying Lando with Hondo, and that combination costs 30. Oh man, what was the math on that? 35 points and now we're talking that you can coordinate for like 31 easily.
Yeah.
So
well,
I don't think that there's much of a difference there. Not like difference in. I don't think there's much of a price point difference to up Gamut Key that much, or Gamut Key.
Gleb.
Gleb. Yes, thank you.
All right.
I don't know. We'll see. Let's keep it rolling though.
Yep. Moving on to the Skurg. We have the captain himself, Mr. Nim. Pretty much the most common Skurg you'll see. You might rarely see another Skurg we'll get to in a sec, but Nim holding those bombs, pretty much the driver, I would say, in almost all bomb-centric lists in Scum. It's very powerful to just trajectory simulator a seismic charge in the middle of like 3 obstacles and say, if you want to go anywhere here, the circle's really big. Here, you're going to take a damage, guaranteed. And that hurts against aces, or anything like in a swarm has to play really weird around it, and potentially trade that a lot of spread out 1 damage for positioning. And if the NIM player gets it right and positions all their wingmates really well, then get in really good positions for the rest of the game to set up. And I think in terms of new upgrades available, I mean, thermal detonators exist. We know that. I feel like that's so seismic is the most effective with trajectory simulator, but I think throwing thermal detonators on there just increases the amount of bombs you have, because the thing the Skurgs don't have that other bombers do is reload, so you have no way to get them back. So you may as well just have more of them. So just do that. It's easier. And I think we went to the other bomber of choice, Sol Sixa. Definitely likes some thermal detonators on Sol Sixa, because if you would drop a device using a 1 straight template, you may drop using any speed 1 straight template instead. People have already put skilled bombardier on Sol Sixa a lot, and already has 2 payload slots. So I feel like the de facto loadout to start is skill bombardier, thermal detonator, and proximity mines, and then fill out the rest from there, just to decide what do I want to do with the rest of my points. 57 points of a lot of bomb area that's really scary, similar to Iman Azamine, but even this is even more flexible on top of that through thermal detonator, skill bombardier, and the big pie plates of proximity mines in that combination too. You have the generic Lock Revenant, rarely seen. I've actually only seen it once, and that was way back the last Worlds we had. I actually went up against triple Skurg with my entire CIS Seer Swarm, and I was wondering if my day would be over, because I actually went, I had 0-2 started that Swiss, and then I was like, well, I found the jank that's going to beat me in the 0-2 bracket, and I ended up overcoming the bomb craziness and trading enough damage. Great opponent, by the way. Steve Bolton, I believe was his name. Really good dude from Europe.
The Skurgs were also really popular in early onset of 2nd edition, because they were so cheap that you could ride them with veteran turret gunner and a turret of choice.
Ion cannon turret, I think. With
and Drea.
Yeah, it was Drea and 3 Skurgs, yeah.
That was a big thing for a bit, and then that got axed, and then we never saw them again, potentially. So we'll see if anyone tries that type of bomb combination, but I feel like there's probably a better version. If you wanted both Nim and Sol Sixa, you can probably fit some other bomb-based ship in there. The more likely combination, so you don't overfill your points, is Nim, Iman, like I said, a Zuvio or something. I don't know how well a Sol Sixa, a Nim, I don't think Iman, all those 3 fit really well together. So you have to sacrifice one of those 3, pick 2, and then find that last third thing that works well. It doesn't always have to be bomb related. You could choose an endgame ship. That endgame ship just has to be fully aware of, there's these areas that I set traps for my enemies. I don't want to run into them myself. And that's it. I think onto our.
Yep. Next is the Star Viper.
The Death Butterflies.
The Death Butterflies. So so with the Star Vipers, really you've got two ships or two specific pilots that I think have the potential to make some noise. The first one and the most obvious one is Guri. Guri's always been good, and nothing has changed between then and now. Typically with Guri, you're flying an advanced sensors, so you're looking with only advanced sensors. It brings Guri up to 74 points, and then if you're flying something like Guri Boba or something that's giving you a significant bid, then you could probably afford to put something like outmaneuver and stealth device or something just to get that two ship list up to like the 180 something point and still be able to basically beat everything that is not initiative 6. And then the initiative 6, there's with Boba around, you always have a chance. The other ship, I think, outside of Guri, that has a potential to make some noise is the Black Sun Assassin. That's the initiative 3 Star Viper. Comes in at 48 points. Gives you enough points. It does have an elite pilot talent, so it has enough to do the maybe like a Predator on there. And you guys may remember from the last Worlds, made it all the way to top 8, I believe it was. Top 4. Yep, made it all the way to top 4 in a very interesting display of decision making. But there's ways to fly.
These ships are good at dancing. They're good at dancing.
Yeah. So if you like, this would be more like bachata, side to side. If you like the bachata, these are really good ships for you, and they have a way of always keeping arc and always putting the onus on the opponent to kind of overcommit. And these ships, even when you think you're gonna, even when you think you might have the angle on them, they have a way of flipping all the way around 180 and still having that token on them by the time you get there, that focus token. So really good ships. Again, it takes a particular type of you have to be willing to fly a very I don't want to say boring because some people enjoy it. I don't like that. It's like you have to keep the formations right. Yeah, it's repetitive. That's a good way of putting it. You have to be willing to fly a very repetitive and patient type of game. But if you are, these ships perform really well in that regard, better than other ones. Outside of Guri and Black Sun, I don't think, for 45 points on the generic one, on the very lowest initiative one, you're better off saving 4 more points and going with the Fang fighters. So I think those are the only two that really make any sense in extended for now.
And last but not least, Will's got the Z95, the named ones.
The named Z95s, you're right. There is 2 of them. We got, I always call them Nadru Shrulak. There's 3. Don't get me started on that. We got Nadru, and his ability works when he gets extra dice on his primary attacks if there's no ships at range 0 to 2. So not really the spamming type, the swarming type. The other named one that I'll mention, I'm just joking, is Kyato Lichos. which I've been saying this name for like 7 years now. I don't think I'm saying it right. But anyways, he can steal a focus token or an evade token off of a friendly ship and give it to yourself. Always a classic friend of anybody with a perceptive co-pilot or a moldy crow hawk flying around. So we could see some combinations between some of the newer Hawks and Lichos. I know people like a lot of proton rockets right now. And he can take a target lock, steal a focus, and shoot a proton or rocket, I guess. We really just haven't seen a lot of them. They are pretty cheap. Like, Lichos is 25 points. That's 3 more than the base to get a couple extra initiatives and a ability to grief your friends. Obviously, false transponder code carriers. So that could be their real utility. I've been putting off Bosk, the Demon Boy bad, and Bosk is in there. He's the I4 and has the same pilot ability. Split a crit into 2 hits. He's just not good in the Z95.
You don't want to throw a proton torpedo on him?
No,
you can't even throw a proton torpedo on there, can you?
No, C95s don't get torps.
Yeah, so
No,
how do
get
you
torps.
get mag?
well, you get mag pulse or marksmanship.
His ability only works on primary.
Yeah. Oh, does it?
Yeah, it's while you perform a primary tech. They changed that from first edition to second. That boss can't do it on
basically
weapons
marksmanship only.
Marksmanship. Marksmanship. I know. I wish they would have changed his ability to where it was missiles and stuff as well. Which would have been cool.
Dooku in there. Throw a little Dooku in there. Crit, crit, crit.
I know, right? This is what I'm saying. The Demon Boy, dirty. Now he is a more reliable like I4 tracer carrier, which is sad that that's what he's been reverted to. If you have a bunch of other I4s, we're talking. Well, take that same. Well, I guess UBI ones. There's just not really a good spot for Bosk, unfortunately. And really, any of these named Z95s, the reason you're taking the Z95 is because you want efficiency and massed numbers. They really don't have, in my mind, the ability. I mean, Lichos, I guess, like same thing. Like he can shoot a tracer missile well because he can take a target lock and then steal a focus from somebody. I guess that sounds like a lot of investment. Why
are you disrespecting my Nashta pup? That's an extended tube.
Wow, you got me there. I do love the pup. The pup is a great value. 7 points with the title. You got to bring another ship as well, but
yeah, you put it on Bosk, and now he's Bosk. You got a 7-point boss.
Yeah, because they come out, they have the emergency deployment, so you lose a shield. I believe it's a shield now. I think it's just suffer critical damage, but they got shields, so they care. Yeah, I mean, 7 points for a 3 health ship. I think it's worth it. But then again, you could just be like paying for like a crew member or something on your Houndstooth to just put out some damage while you are alive. I think we'll see a lot less Z95s because Scum has other options. They got other options for missile carriers and swarming ships with the TIE fighters and the cartel spacers. So really don't think we'll see the named ones, let alone the generics.
Well, you only see Lieutenant Blunt really in Rebels, so I think it's the ship. It's just
we saw some combinations of 3. I think what is it? 3 Caverns Angel Zealots and 2 Z95s.
2 of them with tracers.
Yeah, because you get 4.
No.
It
was a total of 6 ships.
Yeah. So 4 X-wings and 2 Z95s. Yeah. 4 and 2. Yeah, like that. That I'm in on. But to recreate, what would it take to recreate that? You could do like
You got the Kirax fighters.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So 4 Kirax and 2 Z95s. And sure, you make one of them Lichos, so he can double mod his tracer, I guess. That doesn't sound great. It's actually not. It actually doesn't look that bad now that I'm staring at it. It looks pretty good.
And they shoot one initiative higher than their counterparts.
Yeah, actually, that's not that bad. I don't know about Lichos in there, but you grab some Black Sun.
Yeah, but I mean, it lets you put the false transponder codes on your carriers and bump them to the initiative 3s.
I think the most likely use of Z95s is going to be with either as just as random filler or with something like M3As who are cheap and can spam with them. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Well, that's been our Scum overview going into Extended. Again, the Galactic Championship Series is the reason why we're going over this. A majority of those events are extended. The final is extended. We just got out of, well, not just anymore. It's been a few weeks now, out of the Flight Club championships. By the way, prizes for Flight Club, 78% of the prizes as of right now are already packed. And I would have dropped them off today at the post office, but my wife's car wasn't ready from the shop, so I had to take a Uber to work instead of driving myself. So hopefully it's ready for tomorrow. But 78% of them are done, should be in the post office tomorrow. And that section was brought to you by the Galactic Championship. As of right now, May 1st, we have the Moncala event. People have been asking Dion, keep us updated on the locks. People are just like, they're waiting for the last minute. Just like, there's still left, right? There's 15 lock sets for Moncala left. If you wanted a set, there's 15 left. And May 1st is that first event. If you're waiting to be accepted via TTT, have patience. It'll come here soon. And we're going to go ahead and hit our questions of the week. Ryan, what's our first one?
Our first one comes from Sean K. Should the score be clearly visible, basically public knowledge, when we return to in-person tournaments? I've enjoyed having the online scorecard in TTS. I also understand that technically the score is public knowledge, but have never been able to keep all the numbers in my head and play the game at the same time. In person, that might look like participants keeping track on a piece of paper each time the ship is halved or dies.
Can I get my 2 cents here? Mm-hmm. I got my tea. My tea charged me up a little bit and soothed the throat. So I would tell you, if you ever play against, I would tell you most likely you play against me or any of these 3 gentlemen right here. We would not care if you write down the score during the game. We would not care whatsoever. Okay, I'll tell you, I do it. They say no note taking. The score isn't note taking. You know, it's very strange. Take my short answer. Yes. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree. It was a thing in the past. We have to see how things are handled going forward with TOs, judges, and AMG, whatever they may say for how they want to handle this. The easiest thing is just like everyone should know the score at all times, whenever necessary. And it's a lot easier to keep track of the score as things happen than we're on the last turn. We got a couple minutes left, but we need to make sure we're both clear on the score so no one makes mistakes. Like I'm not here to like swindle someone out of a game just because like they didn't know the score and I did. So it's better to make sure everyone's on the same page. I always try to make sure I do that. So for people who are unaware, I haven't added it to my Steam subscribed for TTS yet, but you can. There is an additional attachment or subscribe mod that has a very well integrated scorecard sheet that you can put into TTS so both players are up to date, and it's very easy to use.
Yeah, I'll go one further and even give it as an encouragement to anybody that's starting with in-person play already. there were a couple tournaments. I don't remember exactly which ones they were, but towards the end, it was starting to become more common practice in the tournaments that I was going to that one of the requirements in the tournament were for you, they were giving out like these 3x5 cards, and one of the requirements were for you to list out your ships with their points and their half points, and just have that visible to make the math easier for your opponent. So if you're flying a 50-point ship, you would put let's do those 4-star Vipers that we were talking about with Predator. There are 4 50-point ships. You would put Star Viper 50, half 20, 26, no 25, yeah. If it was 51 points, then it would be 26. Yeah. So anyway, you would have that as a requirement to have it with you, and I think that's a really good something really good for the TOs and anybody else who's organizing any type of events is make that a requirement. Provide 3x5 cards are pretty cheap. Just give them out and let them know. Again, just put your list, not the list, just not the cards and upgrades. Just put the name of the ship, their full point value and their half point value, and make it easy for the opponent. And yeah, and again, I don't remember which tournaments they were, but they were multiple tournaments going close towards the when things shut down.
Well, in a perfect world, this could be potentially done if they ever updated the app. This would be something to the app, right? Like, hey, let's play, and like boop your phone, and we have each other's lists, and we can touch, and it does it. Like, that's perfect world. But yeah, there is. I forgot who it was. I see his face right now. Is one of the players out of Indiana actually wrote an app that's for Android. Maybe it's on iOS too, that does points, just kind of very similar clicking that you could use on iOS. But yeah, like, use the points. It's fine. It should be game knowledge.
Well, I would like to plug a current list builder that does have that function. We haven't had the chance to put that to much use in quite a while because we haven't in physical play, but Launch Bay Next. For people who don't know, you can pre-set up just kind of input your tournament date and whatever into Launch Bay Next with a list that you have, and it has a QR code set up and everything, and you could actually have that type of setup within Launch Bay Next, I believe. I'm not sure how many more updates have come since then because it hasn't been on our minds to check it out because there hasn't been in-person play. But review Launch Bay Next again, everyone, and check it out. Oh, that's right. I think I have that on my phone too, actually. Dion, double check. The chat says you may have been muted.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that here, High Ground X-Wing Scorekeeper is the name of that app. Very simple to use. But yeah, if you have Launch Bay Next, it can function the same way. That's just, some people might find this faster because you don't have to input the full list. You're just putting in numbers. It's basically a glorified calculator, but for X-Wing specifically. All right, what's our next one, Marcel?
So the next one's coming from Psych J7. So you've done worse than you expected at a few tournaments recently, bringing your morale down. What do you do to bring your morale back up to get back on the Bantha to move on and try again? And I'm assuming Bantha to get up and try again on the next tournament, not continue on after you flip the table during your current tournament. Yeah, I think the best thing to do is, it depends, couple things. If you're down on yourself, it's probably because you want to get better, right? So the most common advice that I think people would like to give in this situation is say, you know what, just let it go. forget about it. Like, just brush it off, try again. And I would say that's the right advice for people who are already regular cup makers. Like, you're talking to Duncan Howard, and Duncan goes 1-5 in a tournament. He can brush it off and be like, okay, you know what? Let me just forget about it. It never happened, and show up to the next tournament fresh, and he'll be fine because he is Duncan Howard, and he'll be okay. He'll just put on a Cobra Kai suit, and he's back to business. But if you are not a perpetual cup maker, don't forget about it. Don't just erase it out of your memory. Actually, think, why did it turn out that way? Did it turn out that way because you had a really bad list in that case, or did you have a list that maybe it wasn't a bad list, but it just wasn't a list that matched up with your particular play style? Don't say the dice, whatever it is. Don't say like, oh, I had really bad dice. Like, you may have had really bad dice, but if you had bad dice, then are there things in your list that could have helped mitigate that, which is like additional, if you bump, force to get free actions, or whatever it is, just ways to mitigate bad dice, which there are many ways. So I would say, again, I'll let Ryan and Will and talk about it, but for me, I would just say avoid the advice of people that say, you know what, just brush it off, don't think about it, just let it go, don't be upset, and go to your next tournament, because that's not going to make you any better player. And your next tournament, you're just going to flip the table on that one as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off that and just kind of add some things. I think it comes to kind of reiterate what you're saying there. It depends on your perspective and why you're playing the game, right? Are you playing it competitive? Are you playing it just like beer and pretzels, right? Just sitting around, like. But I think it goes down to what you said, Marcel. If it's affecting you that way, that means you care. I think that's the number one thing. It just sort of shows that you care, and how making sure that you ask the correct questions after you lose is really important. So I'm going to give myself as an example. As you guys know, on Wednesday nights, a lot of times I fly weird lists, and also, let's be honest, I for funsies, I'll make suboptimal moves. Why? Because it's hilarious. It's fun. It's like, hey, what would happen if we did this, right? Like, I'm not trying to win a tournament on Wednesday nights. I'm just playing. It doesn't mean anything. But in a tournament, I wouldn't necessarily make those same decisions. And to double back on not blaming the dice, this is the reason why I was really glad that the TTS dice thing was broken for such a long time, because it got to a fever pitch where most of the conversations we saw about games was about dice, which I know, never mind. I'm not going to say it. But anyway, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, if I could suggest one thing, and this is the advice I give to anybody who not just is having like a bad time in tournaments, but also for like anybody who's just like, I don't know if I should play in a tournament because I won't get any wins. And it's to fly a list that you would still fly at 0-5 going into the 6th game. Whatever ship, if you have like a favorite ship, a favorite pilot, and it might be that time you just assess yourself and be like, I need to stop, and I just need to go and have some fun. Like, go and fly the 4 freighter captains with feedback array and just cause a traffic jam, or whatever, like you said, the equivalent of, fun, 7 quad jumpers or something. Whatever you would still gladly put on the table, even though you you might not have the best chance of winning at it. Now, I mean, it's not going to help you get games, or excuse me, it's not going to help you get wins, but it might give you that spark again, that the reason why you play X-Wing again, of whether it's, like I said, a fun combo or your favorite pilot, whatever that may be. For me, I'll say from personally, I had this last week, I had a rough game for one of my like league style tournaments, borderline embarrassing, to say the least. And I was pretty down on it for like a couple of days or whatever. And I was able to bounce back by flying just the most ridiculous thing I could. Like, I wasn't even caring about winning. I was just trying to, it was putting stress on a single ship. But that was fun to me. Like, I stopped caring about, win or lose or how dumb am I looking, and I was just having some fun. So maybe find that kind of niche list that is just pure fun for you, whatever that would be.
All right, let's hit our last question. Let's keep it rolling here.
Don't get to say anything.
I'm sorry.
Right. So,
I'll piggyback a little bit off of what Will mentioned. I always opt into whatever you find the most fun or what you're the most comfortable with. If you've recently tried a list because you net listed, it's not a problem net listing, but it didn't feel like home to you, just go back to what feels like home, right? That's always going to end up better than you trying to like try other things. And maybe you have been flying the list that's felt like home for a long time and you've just been on a really bad kick after a while. Set that list aside, then try new things. It's a little bit of back and forth. You gotta have a little bit of new, but you always gotta go back to home every once in a while. That's how I feel about my droid swarms. I always go back to them, but I have to have a little time away with Hera these days. But I think one thing that is important is defining what your expectations are. So it does depend, like, if you've done worse than you expected, what did you expect? Did you expect to win it all? Like, that's a lot. That's a huge goal. That's huge. For any of us, it is hard to win an entire event. You're talking through Swiss to make sure you don't lose by more than, most of the time, one, to be as safe as possible to get into cut. And then on top of that, you're telling yourself you got to win in a row 4 to 5 games through an elimination of the best players that have gone through that event. That is hard. Now, that's not an expectation commonly amongst players. I don't even expect myself to do that at all, ever. I've always set myself, make the cut, everything past that is gravy, right? So it depends on your expectations. Maybe as someone who, like Marcel mentioned, is trying to get better at the game and has the same type of set as me, all you want to do is make the cut because you're delivering yourself that bar. Well, is that an expectation that you should have at your experience in the game? It's not bad to set that goal, but maybe depending on what you're flying, if you're not used to it yet, but you really want to learn how to play it, or it's a new meta with new stuff and it's a lot of new experiences that you haven't had yet, say like Hera in Disciplined. People who are more experienced in the game are more apt to know those interactions and either against them or using them against you. It depends on the scenery that you're in terms of who's around you and who you're playing against. You might end up with the highest strength of schedule. You faced Will, Marcel, me, and then you just went, and then even in like someone in 0-3 or 1-2 at the time in between playing Will and Marcel, and then like you play someone else and it ends up being someone who's submarine too, and you're just like, I can't catch a break. I'm facing like tough opponents back to back to back to back to back. I never even get a bye or something like that, right? You never get a break. Some things are circumstantial, but I think it's always valuable to look at your expectations and do they feel right to you? Do you need to reassess them? Again, have goals, but the more realistic they are, the more you can meet those expectations and build off of that and increase those expectations and goal setting.
I mean, that's the whole idea behind my concept of Flight Club, right? I know that we just wrapped it up, but it's that idea of trying to find where you are, and once you know where you are, it's easier to figure out the goals, and that it's something that'll continue to evolve in GSP events. But you know, find your bar. Where are you? And then you make the expectations from there. Because I do think most of the time, most people shoot too high. I know people are like, oh, you know, have high expectations. Yes, of course. That idea is good, but you got to be careful how you, how those expectations could affect you emotionally. All right. Well, let's hit our last question here. Who Will? Is it your turn to read a question?
I will take it. Fallen 707. Who I think is joining us in the chat, says, if you woke up one morning and your vehicle was replaced with a Star Wars ship, what would it be? Well, my 90s Ford Econoline. All right. Oh, wait, no, I'm blanking out. It's not an Econoline.
So, quick question before you go there. Would you?
What?
Are we saying our actual car or our dream car?
I mean, it's whatever you. I mean, if
things.
I'm gonna do it, the car that's parked in my driveway, which now for some reason I am blanking out. Man, what am I even thinking about? It must be late.
Will
I
like
do not
walks
know the name
outside.
of my van.
I'm gonna go to my van. I'll be right back.
What is? It's a Centaurus. I know that. I forget the model now though. I think it's Econoline. No, they're not Econolines. I don't know. Whatever. I have a big 90s van, so I would imagine it would turn itself into the YV666. Big, spacious, but mostly utility. Not quite the luxury of the 1300 or the VCX. But yeah, I'm going with. I would imagine it would be YV666.
What about you, Marcel?
Oh God. So I drive an Alfa Romeo. It's kind of it's a sports car, but it's got a back seat, so it's not like a Corvette sports car. It's Italian, same makers, so the engine that make the Ferrari. So it's gotta be fast, but it's also gotta have a crew carrier. So I'm trying to think like what would be.
Oh, that's the Hawk, man.
Is it the Hawk is not fast?
Oh, what? 4-Ford boost? Come on.
4-Ford boost.
Would you be a Lancer class? See, it's kind of big, but
yeah, it's not that big though. It's the Lancer's like a big base. That would, like the Lancer would be like a Dodge, like the Hemi, with yeah.
I think the answer is some type of variant of an A-wing with a pilot seat.
Yeah, I think it's either an A-wing or I think a Fang. I think a Fang fighter probably makes the most sense. So that's what I would go.
Ryan?
So I currently have a Chevy Cruze hatchback. So it's like a little extra space. We're not in SUV van territory, so I like kind of similar one like crew or gunner slot or something. But not like Marcel's fast car though. I don't know. Like almost like nothing from Empire would make sense. I feel like I might take the Hawk. Utility, it's a hatchback. A lot of potential things to maybe change around or move as necessary. Sure, I'll take a Hawk.
For myself, I drive a Toyota Corolla. Just bland, plain. It's an X-Wing. That's what it is. It just does. What does it do? It drives. That's all. All right, everybody. Or U-wing. Actually, yeah, that's probably more a better connection there. All right, that's a great question. Absolutely great question. I think after this, guys, what we think is now, like a dream. Well, your dream. Like if your dream vehicle, what would it be? We could maybe hit that one next week or something. All right. Well, this week has been great, but besides the fact that I can't talk, but so I guess not. But you know what I mean. Great discussions today. Hopefully things are back to normal. I'm hoping by Wednesday. Like the thing is, like I could make myself talk normal. It just hurts a lot to do it. So. Hopefully everybody had a good time today. I know it's a little bit of a weird podcast, Dion ASMR version over here. But thank you to the team for having my back, and hopefully we have an awesome week. Be smart, be safe. We'll see you on Wednesday for Gold Squadron Flight Club Weekly. Gold Squadron out. Thank you to ISO, Danko, Baffle, Trojan, Prophet, Shadow, Tycho, Spice, Raider, and Lancer, our Grand Admiral patrons, and all of our Gold Squadron patrons and community members. Thank you so much for your support. Gold Squadron out.